Is it a good time to buy a house in Georgia right now? I know this is the biggest question that everybody has been asking these days, and I can understand why, because there is so much talk about interest rates having gone up to now 7% as of the recording of this video, and people are wondering, is it a good time to buy? Well, stick around until the end because I want to provide some solutions and some clarity and insight, especially here in the Metro Atlanta area. My name's Tim Trevathan with Tim Trevathan Homes and Keller Williams Realty. Don't forget to subscribe, check out my other content, but this one right here I know is going to get a lot of attention because people have been wanting to know the answer to this and just make sense of all this. And look, as a professional in this business, I've helped so many clients from other cities and states move here to Atlanta. And I've even gotten a lot of calls of people who not necessarily are looking to buy or sell, but just have questions. And so if that's you, please feel free to reach out to me. Call, text, email, however you want to get a hold of me, because I love to talk about real estate as this is what I do for my livelihood. All right, guys, so I'm just gonna start out by showing you a picture that's kind of comical, but kind of true, to just really paint a picture of what we've been experiencing in the last 2 years. Here is a picture of a supersonic jet. In the last 3 years, from 2020 to 2022, this has been the experience for most of us, that we've been going at supersonic speeds, Mach 3, Mach 4, faster than the speed of sound. We just can't stop in terms of buying and over asking price offers and waiving financing and appraisal contingencies and even the inspection period. This is the kind of market we have been in, but not anymore. In fact, it kind of reminds me of this picture. Yes, what we can look forward to in the next 2 years, 2023 through 2024 at least, we might be taking a backseat in one of these kind of planes here from a long time ago. I guess we still use them, but it's not something you would use in the battlefield. Now, I want to just go back to the basics for a second and talk about one big thing: the nature and law of supply and demand. When it comes to real estate, when you have more demand, that can raise the prices of homes, and especially if inventory is low. If you have a lot of inventory, meaning more homes are sitting on the market longer and that there's just a larger number of homes in general that are for sale and the demand is not there, well, you can definitely see home prices going down. So, which is it? Are home prices going up? Are they going down? Are they staying the same? Well, definitely, and you could just find this on all kinds of different sites like Realtor.com or Zillow, that you'll quickly find out that there are a lot of price reductions. Now, a lot of people have been saying, well, this is a devaluing of the market. Not necessarily true. One thing to point out is that we have seen a red hot seller's market the last 2 years that we saw last year in 2021 in Atlanta as a 24% increase in home prices, when normally the average is between 3 and 5%. So yes, while home prices are coming down, by how much? Are we talking 5%, 10%, 15%? Let's say it's even 15% worst case scenario. Well, 24 minus 15, that's 9%. That's still more than the average 3 to 5% annual increase in home values. So you have to look at the long term. Now first, why don't we look from a big scope nationally and then hone in on the local Atlanta market. So we look here in this chart here, this is the top 15 cities in America with the largest price growth from a change in value from 2007 at the time of the economic crisis to now 2022. You can see Austin, Texas tops the list, that the average home value of homes in Austin, Texas in 2007 was $210,311. The current average home price in Austin for 2022 this year is $582,073. This is a 176.8% increase in value in Austin, Texas. Now, one thing I want to point out, if we look back, we can see that number 14, we go down, Atlanta made the list. So having said that, Atlanta being on this list means that there's been a lot of demand over the years. How do we know there's a lot of demand? Well, because of what we were just talking about with the law of supply and demand, and how we see home prices going up, meaning there's a lot of demand and also probably less supply, which is indicative of the entire country. So if we look back here, Atlanta was number 14. We've seen an 88% increase. Nowhere near Austin's increase, but by all means, a pretty substantial increase in home values. Now let's take a look at this one. This is a chart showing inventory exploding in the top 20 cities where homes have either sat on the market or they're new listings, and then there's just a huge number of listings that are currently active on the market for sale in these given cities. Then this is the top 20 list. Now on this list, you can see that Atlanta's not on it. They're not in the top 20. So this can mean several things. Well, one, it can mean that there are a lot of homeowners that don't want to sell their home, and so that's keeping inventory low. You've also got a lot of institutional investors that are buying in Atlanta because it's a landlord-friendly state, so those homes are kept off the market because they're being rented out. And you've got a lot of people that are moving here, and when they move here, they have no intention to leave because they find it more affordable. The cost of living is a lot more competitive and attractive than other big metro cities in the US. So those are just a couple reasons why we may see the inventory lower than these cities. But going back, let's look here. The first one is Phoenix, Arizona, followed by Provo, Utah, Raleigh, North Carolina, Colorado Springs, and so forth. A lot of these are out west, but then there's also some in Florida. Northport, Florida made the list on number 7. Nashville, Tennessee as well. Tampa, Florida is there right in the list as well. So what does this mean? Well, these cities are going to see the biggest price decreases and the fastest decrease in prices because there's so much inventory. The fact that Atlanta is not on this list is a good sign for several reasons. One, the home values are not going to go down as fast as other cities in the US. Two, that means for current homeowners that if they want to tap into their equity by selling their house and upsizing or finding a new construction house to buy, well, they have more of that chance and wherewithal to be able to do that because of the equity that they can still pull out of their house. So that's just a little bit about supply and demand from a national level as well as a local level here in Atlanta. But there's a couple more things we need to talk about. If you look at this chart, we can see that it is true that there are less showings than a year ago, and there are 26% more active listings on the market. But here's some good news. Take a look at this. In this chart, it shows what is the showing index in the month of July. These are all months of July in the past 4, 5, 6 years. And the interesting thing to point out is that yes, while the showings are going down compared to 2021 and the year before in 2020, we are still above pre-pandemic numbers. Meaning in the last year before COVID hit, 2019, we still have people looking at houses more frequently now than they were in 2019. So that's good news because that means there's still activity, there's still demand, there's still people that want to buy homes. These are just a couple graphs which I'll go through quickly. Here we can see that active listings are up, again, because home prices are coming down a little bit due to interest rate hikes. That active listings, meaning there are homes that are sitting on the market longer as well, that's why that number is going up. We could also see here with under contract that there's still a fair amount of homes that are being under contract, but they have to be priced right and they have to be move-in ready. You're only facing 2 contests, but they're very 2 important contests, and that is a beauty contest and a pricing contest. If the house needs work done, then it's failing in its beauty contest and it needs to get first place by having some renovations done. Or it could be related to price, and that's usually the biggest one. Lowering the price will be more attractive so that buyers can afford it and have a reason to put in an offer. This one is particularly interesting. Sold price versus original list price. So let's say a home's original list price is $400,000. So the day it hits the market, it's $400,000. And the time that it sells, which could be say 30 days, 60 days later, it sells for $350,000. Well, you're gonna divide that 350 from 400 and get this ratio percentage. And you can see here that it has indeed gone down. I mean, we had some extremely red hot months for many months in a row where it was over asking price, 100.2%, all the way as high as 103%. Now we're starting to see homes sell for under the asking price, as shown in that last bar, 97.9%. Another interesting to point out is the median sold price. So we see here that the median sold price has continued to climb every month until, what do you know, this past month. So what does that mean? Tim, the market's crashing. Tim, it's not a good time to buy. But look at this. One thing to keep in mind is this is the median price, not the average price. So what does that say and what's the difference? Well, median, you're gonna be taking a lot of the outliers that determine these numbers. The most expensive luxury homes, and then the cheapest homes, maybe condos or townhomes, and then you get that middle number. So seeing this go down, what does that indicate? It means that there are less luxury homes on the market. So less expensive homes on the market. So seeing that there are less luxury homes on the market makes sense, because with the interest rates now at 7%, for a person to borrow and get a loan, it's gonna cost them a lot when the loan itself is much bigger in order to purchase one of these big luxury homes. So that's why this number's coming down. Doesn't necessarily mean a devaluing, especially with homes that are 500,000 or less here in Metro Atlanta. So with that said, there's two important things I wanna mention. One, which we already talked about, and that is showing activity. People are still looking for homes. I did an open house the other day. I had 6 families come through. Now, if the home's been sitting on the market for a long time, you don't get that many people coming through open houses. But when a home hits the market, there are indeed people still looking. Secondly, this is a chart that's very telling, and I want to highlight this more than anything. If we look here, the pending home sales index for the month of July this past summer, we could see here that the only region in the US that had an index over 100 was the South. What does this mean? Okay, first let's break down, is that a good thing or not? Well, if you look at the bottom left corner, it says an index above 100 coincides with a higher level of activity relative to 2001. So that means we're seeing more showing activity, as we just mentioned from the graph, and even more so now with this chart, that the South is seeing more showing activity. So what does this mean? People locally and nationally and internationally, especially regionally, are moving to Atlanta and other parts of the South. And I could definitely say that international is definitely a thing, because I have a client that I'm helping called me from one of my videos not too long ago, and they're moving here to Atlanta in the near future from Toronto, Canada. So it's a very real exodus and move and migration to the South. In Atlanta, why I want to point this out as far as this index goes is that, yes, while home prices are coming down all across the country, with inventory going up and demand lowering, in the long term, you're gonna see a better investment through the equity that you would build on a home in Georgia, especially here in Metro Atlanta. Now you're probably wondering at this point, Tim, you're showing us all kinds of graphs. They're great. You're giving us a lot of insight, but you haven't answered the most important question. Is now the right time to buy a home? All right, if you made it this far, then you're in for a treat. Here's what I want to say. Short answer, yes and no. I know it's not the answer you wanted, but here it is. If you are financially ready, emotionally ready, and find the home that you're looking for, now is a great time to buy. The fact that now you can get concessions from the seller, covering your credit towards your closing costs, getting an inspection, having repairs done, and keeping your appraisal contingency, so that if the appraisal comes in lower, you can ask the seller to reduce it instead of you having to cover the difference in the purchase price versus the appraised value, that it's better now to buy because of the less competition and be able to get all those perks that I just listed. Now, one thing I want to point out is it's all about perspective. I bought my first house in June of 2018. A lot of people are not aware that in June of 2018, the interest rates were 5.1%. Some thought that in the last 6-7 years, it's all been 3%, but no, that's not the case. And when I was about to buy, I asked myself a similar question that a lot of people are asking. Is it now the right time to buy? And guess what I told myself? Well, you know what? I found the house that I wanted. It was located near the interstate in a great school district. It could be rented out for the future if I ever wanted to. Those are some of my criteria that were met. And the house, of course, itself was a great single family home with a fenced in backyard that I wanted. Now, knowing that the rates were 5.1%, which were the highest, the good thing is I was able to buy down the rate, and with my excellent credit score, I was able to lock in a 4.875% interest rate. I told myself, Tim, I have a 30-year fixed conventional loan. I know at some point I'm gonna be able to refinance. The greatest thing, I was able to refinance, and a lot sooner than I thought. The following year, 2019, I was able to refinance for 3.5%. And I thought, man, this is fantastic. I saved a good $150 on my mortgage, and I could ride this out for the next 29 years. Guess what? The following year, 2020, I was able to refinance again to 2.5%. So, what is the moral of the story? This is what I want to share as the bottom line. If you're looking to buy a house, you know the rate's high, I get it. But as the saying goes, and I think this has been going around a lot on the internet these days, is date the rate, marry the home. And I believe that, and the reason why is what that means is that you are gonna buy the home to live in it forever, hypothetically, and the rate that you have is temporary. You might be asking, well, Tim, it's a fixed rate, so it's gonna be forever that rate, but not necessarily, because you can refinance. Now, this is where you might be asking, well, Tim, when can I do that? Rates keep going up. And I get it. I don't have a crystal ball. None of us have a crystal ball. But going back to my own personal example of when I bought a home in 2018, I knew that it would come down. I just didn't know by how fast or how quickly. And that's what I would say for this instance. Who knows when the rate will come down? I know it will at some point, but when? It may be 3 to 5 years later instead of 1 or 2 years later. Will it come down a full percent or 2% within a 2-year period? It might take longer than that over a gradual time period. But again, if you're gonna live in the property for 5 years or more, then I think that still now is a good time to buy because of what is going on in the South regionally with the demand, as well as the number of showings that are taking place, and the fact that you can get all your credit towards your closing costs paid for by a lot of sellers if you want to wait it out. Okay, so my answer was yes to everything I just said. If you want to wait it out, then you can. And this is why I'd say, is it a good time to buy? No. If you're not financially ready, then maybe it would be a good idea to wait it out. Look, all I can say is try to pair up with the right realtor who can help you get the job done, and a lender who can help you perhaps buy down the rate. And if you're looking for new construction, let me know, because I can help with that as well. And there's a lot of buying down of the rates going on that people are still locking in new construction homes as of today, here in September 2022, for as little as 4.5% to 5%. So, hope this video was good for you guys. Please subscribe. And if you have any questions, don't be afraid to reach out to me. See you guys on the next video.